don't know is the efforts that I've gone to resolve this.
There are arguments, there were fights, almost as if you should do what I tell you.
But there needs to be conversations, and then in order for reconciliation, and part of that has to be accountability. There's a lot that I can forgive.
Something terrifying just happened behind palace walls. And this time, no royal statement, no polished family photo, and no staged charity event can cover it up. Prince Harry has just been admitted to the hospital under circumstances so shocking that even his closest allies were left scrambling. It wasn't a scheduled checkup, it wasn't exhaustion, it was a late-night emergency that insiders are calling a life-or-death moment, one that nearly ended in tragedy. And the worst part, it happened inside the walls of his own home. But what's truly disturbing isn't just what happened to Harry, it's the silence that followed. No official comment, no family visit, no comforting message for Meghan. In fact, the whispers coming from Montecito paint a picture that feels more like a betrayal than a royal accident. Because while Harry was allegedly found unconscious and possibly under the influence of something dangerous, Meghan Markle was reportedly nowhere to be seen until hours later, when she was spotted smiling and laughing at an elite Hollywood party. Let that sink in. This isn't tabloid fiction. This is the story insiders tried to bury. According to multiple sources, it wasn't a friend or family member who found Harry. It was his longtime bodyguard, a man who's been with him since the palace days, and if he hadn't acted fast, the outcome could have been fatal. Still, the palace hasn't said a word. Meghan hasn't either. But the people who were there, they're finally talking, and the things they're revealing about Harry's downward spiral, about years of quiet struggles, and about Meghan's alleged response are enough to shake the monarchy to its core. Because this wasn't some one-off slip. According to insiders, it was the culmination of years of secrets, silence, and spiraling behavior. And if even half of what's being said is true, Prince Harry might be in more danger now than he ever was during his royal duties. It started like any other quiet night in Montecito, but it ended in absolute chaos. According to those close to the situation, Prince Harry was found completely unresponsive inside his California home, the kind of scene that sends a chill down anyone's spine. No one expected it, no one was prepared, and the silence from official sources is only making things feel darker. Insiders claim it wasn't a simple medical scare. It was allegedly the result of a dangerous cocktail of substances, something Harry has been rumored to struggle with for years. But this wasn't about whispers or speculation anymore. This was a real emergency, one that required immediate hospitalization. Paramedics were called, security was heightened, and behind the scenes, the panic was very real. And where was Meghan Markle during all of this? Not at home. Not by his side. According to multiple reports, Meghan had already left for the evening, attending a members-only party at an exclusive private club in Los Angeles. While Harry was reportedly being rushed into an ambulance, Meghan was spotted hours later, laughing, dressed to the nines, seemingly untouched by the chaos unfolding back home. Even longtime supporters were stunned. What made the situation even more alarming was the person who found Harry. It wasn't a friend, a doctor, or even a family member. It was David Langdown, Harry's trusted bodyguard and former Scotland Yard officer. Langdown isn't just any employee. He's been with Harry since his earliest public duties, handpicked by palace security and even awarded for his service by the late Queen herself. The man has spent years protecting Harry from the outside world, but this time he may have saved him from himself. Langdown reportedly made the call that brought emergency responders to the estate. He stayed with Harry throughout the ordeal, and according to those close to him, he's one of the only people Harry still trusts. But even after all that, no official statements were released. No confirmation, no denial, just silence. And that silence? It's speaking volumes. To many, this incident felt like a sudden shock. But for those who've been paying attention, it was more like a ticking time bomb finally going off. Prince Harry's struggles with substances didn't start in California. They stretch back over 2 decades. hidden beneath royal smiles and polished appearances. Whispers of wild parties, reckless behavior, and emotional breakdowns have followed him since his teenage years, but most of it was quietly buried by palace PR teams. Now, it's all flooding back into the spotlight. In his own memoir, Harry openly admitted to using marijuana while living at Kensington Palace, dabbling in psychedelics like ayahuasca, and even experimenting with sea powder, all in an effort, he claimed, to escape the crushing weight of royal life and the grief he never truly processed after losing his mother, Princess Diana. And those admissions? They weren't taken lightly. In the US, where he now lives, they sparked outrage. A conservative think tank launched a legal effort demanding the release of Harry's visa documents. Why? Because under normal immigration law, anyone who admits to using illegal substances, even in the past, can be denied entry or deported. The government's response? Redacted documents and a wave of speculation. But even before the book and the interviews, there were signs. As far back as 2007, rumors swirled that Harry once snorted vodka, yes, not drank, but snorted, during a night out. Experts warned that doing so could result in instant brain damage or death. Yet, somehow, that story never made headlines. Why? Because the palace made sure it didn't. There were also claims that instead of dealing with the issue, Prince Charles tried to contain it by building a private nightclub inside their Highgrove estate, hoping it would limit Harry's wild nights. But it didn't fix anything, it just hid the damage. Harry's darkest confessions came during an interview with trauma expert Dr. Gabor Mate, where he spoke candidly about how substances gave him a sense of belonging and helped him feel different than the way he was feeling. A chilling window into someone who's been emotionally drowning for years. And now, with this recent hospitalization, many believe that the old habits never really stopped. They just went underground. While Prince Harry was being rushed to the hospital in what some are calling a near-fatal episode, Meghan Markle was nowhere near his side. In fact, reports claim she had already slipped away hours earlier, headed to an exclusive members-only club tucked deep in Los Angeles, far from the chaos unfolding at home. And she wasn't just grabbing a drink or laying low. Multiple witnesses say Meghan was seen laughing, posing for photos, and engaging with high-profile guests, looking completely at ease. There was no panic, no concern, no trace of urgency. Just a woman enjoying a glamorous night out while her husband was allegedly fighting for his life. Now, some might argue coincidence, but others, they're calling it what it looks like, an alibi. Sources close to the situation say her team was quick to circulate paparazzi photos and social media chatter that placed Meghan at the party during the exact time frame of Harry's hospitalization. Almost as if it was a calculated move, not just to avoid the crisis, but to distance herself from it completely. And that raises disturbing questions. If your partner is being found unconscious and rushed to emergency care, do you go party with influencers and Hollywood elites? Or do you drop everything and get to the hospital? The optics alone have set social media ablaze. Critics are questioning whether Meghan's absence was cold indifference or something even darker, self-preservation. Because this wouldn't be the first time she's been accused of stepping away at just the right moment for herself. Even people who once defended her are starting to admit, this doesn't look like love. It looks like someone building a narrative, one that puts distance between herself and a husband in crisis. This isn't the first time Meghan Markle has been accused of turning a blind eye to Prince Harry's struggles. But now those whispers are growing louder, and they're pointing to something much more unsettling than just emotional distance. Insiders claim Meghan didn't just ignore Harry's habits, she may have enabled them. Some even believe she's used his emotional vulnerability and substance issues as a way to maintain control, creating a dynamic where he leans on her, not out of love, but out of dependence. It's a chilling thought, but it's one that's gaining traction behind the scenes. And if you look back, the red flags were always there. At Meghan's first wedding in Jamaica, guests still talk about the party favors, but they weren't candles or thank you cards. According to reports, Meghan personally rolled joints and slipped them into guest bags, so discreetly that some guests didn't realize until they were on flights back to the US. That alone could have landed them in serious legal trouble. It also paints a picture of someone who isn't new to the world of recreational substances. Far from it. Then there's her mother, Doria. On the surface, she's quiet, poised, and low profile, but some sources claim she's long been connected to California's underground scene, with ties to people who know exactly how to get what they want and how to keep things buried. Whether that's true or not, it adds another layer of unease to a family that's starting to look less like victims and more like enablers. Now those same sources say Meghan has been fully aware of Harry's spiral for years, and did nothing to stop it. In fact, when Harry spoke up about missing his family or feeling the weight of royal life, she reportedly dismissed it as being stuck in the past. She allegedly told him to move on, to man up, to focus on the brand, not the healing. And that's where this story shifts, because it's no longer just about one man struggling. It's about the people around him, people who may have seen the pain, the warning signs, the breakdown, and chose silence. Or worse, chose to use it. The royal cover-ups. If this was just a one-time emergency, it'd be alarming enough. But the truth is, this isn't the first time Prince Harry's behavior has raised red flags. What's more troubling is how often those red flags were quietly buried. Over the years, stories have emerged of Harry acting out, raging at staff, disappearing for hours, or showing signs of substance use. But every time, just as the story was gaining traction, the palace would step in. Suddenly, headlines would shift to charity work, feel-good interviews, or a staged family photo. Crisis covered. There's even an old report of Harry allegedly inhaling hospital-grade laughing gas during Meghan's pregnancy. It was quickly brushed off as a joke. But medical experts called it reckless and dangerous, especially for someone already known to be struggling. Still, no follow-up, no consequences. Some insiders now claim that during Harry's time in the military, drug tests were skipped or altered. One staffer said that whenever a surprise test came up, Harry was mysteriously flown out. Another alleged he once combined vodka and sea powder before a mission. And yet, no scandal, no headlines. Why? Because the palace didn't want the truth out. Not because they didn't see the problem, but because they couldn't afford the fallout. The moment Prince Harry was admitted to the hospital, everything went into overdrive. Sources say King Charles was personally notified, and the royal communications team worked through the night, not to support Harry, but to control the narrative. There was no public statement, no acknowledgement, just silence, and behind it, full-blown crisis mode. Because if the truth about Harry's condition leaks in full, it doesn't just damage him, it threatens the entire royal brand. This isn't about one rebellious prince anymore. It's about the cracks in a system that's supposed to be untouchable. And Meghan, she's no longer being shielded. Royal insiders now believe that if Harry's condition worsens or the full story goes public, she could be the first one thrown under the bus. Lawyers aren't preparing for a divorce. They're preparing for a media explosion, one that could expose years of silence, manipulation, and cover-ups. For the first time, senior officials are reportedly re-examining everything from the past 5 years. Meghan's influence, her connections, her decisions, the same stories that were once dismissed as gossip, now they're being taken seriously. Because at this point, the damage control isn't working, and the truth is catching up fast. At the heart of all the headlines, rumors, and speculation lies one painful truth. Prince Harry is not okay. Whether it began with the trauma of losing his mother, the pressure of growing up in a palace, or the loneliness of adulthood far from home, this is a man in crisis. And what's worse is how many people around him have either walked away, looked the other way, or used his pain for their own benefit. Meghan's silence, the palace's cover-ups, the media's selective reporting, it all paints a picture of someone breaking down in plain sight, while the world pretends nothing's happening. And now, as the situation spirals out into public view, the question isn't just what happened, it's how did it get this far? Because if those closest to him, his wife, his family, his protectors, had stepped in sooner, maybe this entire moment could have been avoided. Maybe he wouldn't be a headline. Maybe he'd be healing. But instead,